Most men think that being nice is their greatest asset in a relationship. They believe that by being agreeable, predictable, and always available, they are building a foundation of love. They think that if they just try hard enough to please, they will eventually be rewarded with the desire they crave. But the truth is far more brutal. Your kindness is often perceived as a lack of options. When you have no edges, there is nothing for someone to hold on to. When you are always there, your presence becomes as invisible as the air. You aren't being a good man, you are being a safe man. And safe men are the first ones to be taken for granted. You are slowly destroying your own value by trying to be everyone's favorite cushion. You spend your evenings waiting for a text that never comes, or worse, a text that only comes when someone needs a favor. You sit at the dinner table across from someone who is looking at their phone instead of you. You feel that cold pit in your stomach, realizing that the more you give, the less you receive. You are letting your dignity bleed out because you are terrified of the word no. If you are ready to kill the nice guy inside you and reclaim your power through Stoic indifference, type Stoic in the comments below. This is where your transformation begins. Let's look at the facts. Rule number 1. Reclaim your mental independence. The universe operates on a cold and unforgiving law of polarity. The more you chase something, the faster it runs away from you. This is not a cruel trick of fate, it is a fundamental law of psychological gravity. When you direct all your energy towards someone else, you create a vacuum of desperation around yourself. You become a gravity well of neediness, pulling and clutching at anything that might give you a moment of comfort. But people do not run toward neediness, they flee from it. Attraction is not built on what you can give to another person to make them happy. Attraction is built on the heavy, magnetic pull of a man who is entirely complete on his own. When you bend your entire existence to please someone else, you are projecting a loud and clear message to the world. You are screaming that you do not believe you are enough. You are announcing that your internal world is empty and you need another person to fill the void. The consequence of this behavior is instantaneous and brutal. You do not earn their love. You earn their quiet contempt. The other side, whether it is a woman you desire, a boss you want to impress, or a friend you want to keep, sees through the facade. They do not see a kind and generous soul. They see a man who is hiding his insecurity behind the mask of being nice. In her mind, she perceives your constant availability not as devotion, but as a lack of purpose. She wonders why you have nothing better to do than to wait for her approval. She begins to feel a heavy sense of pity for your attachment, and pity is the absolute death of sexual attraction and respect. A woman wants to be a beautiful addition to a man's already thriving empire. She does not want to be the empire itself. When you make her your entire world, you place a crushing weight of responsibility on her shoulders that she never asked to carry. She becomes your judge, your jury, and your source of life. The moment she realizes she holds this much power over your emotional state, she loses all desire to be with you. She cannot lean on a man who collapses the moment she steps away. Ordinary men fail this test every single day because they operate from a place of intense scarcity. When they feel the distance growing, they do not step back. They lean in further. They text more. They buy more gifts. They offer more unsolicited help. They apologize for things they didn't do, just to bridge the gap of tension. They think that if they can just explain their feelings one more time, the other person will finally understand and come back. They turn themselves into emotional beggars, standing at the gates of another person's heart, asking for a few crumbs of validation. They let a single silence dictate the quality of their entire week. Imagine it is a Tuesday night. You are sitting on the edge of your bed in the dark. The only light in the room is the cold blue glow of your phone screen. You sent a message hours ago, a simple question about her day, and you can see that she has read it. No reply. Your brain begins to spin a web of anxious scenarios. You wonder if you said something wrong, or if she is with someone else, or if she has finally lost interest entirely. You type out a long emotional response demanding to know where you stand. Then you delete it. Then you type a casual joke to see if that works. Then you delete that too. Your thumb hovers over the screen, your heart racing, your chest tight with a physical ache of anxiety. You are a prisoner to a piece of glass and a lack of notifications. You have surrendered your peace of mind to the whims of another person's schedule. The man who has embraced Stoic indifference looks at this exact same silence and smiles. He understands that another person's silence is a reflection of their own life, not his own value. He does not take it personally because he does not view himself through the lens of other people's behavior. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The Roman emperor was not talking about suppressing your emotions. He was talking about understanding the boundary between what is yours to control and what belongs to the world. You cannot control when another person replies to you. You cannot control if they find you attractive today or indifferent tomorrow. Attempting to control these outside events is the very definition of insanity. The only thing you own is your response to the silence. The Stoic man does not send a second message. He does not sit in the dark waiting for a vibration. He puts the phone face down in another room. He opens a book, he lifts heavy weights, or he dives into a business plan that requires his absolute focus. He turns the silence into a weapon of self-improvement. When the reply finally does come, whether it is 3 hours or 3 days later, he does not drop everything to answer it in 2 seconds. He answers when it is convenient for his own schedule. His tone is calm, unbothered, and brief. He does not ask why it took so long. He does not demand an explanation. He acts as if he barely noticed the passage of time. By doing this, you flip the entire psychological dynamic on its head. Suddenly, you are the mystery. Suddenly, she is the one wondering why you are so unbothered by her absence. She begins to realize that you do not need her to be happy, and that realization makes you incredibly rare. It makes you irresistible because you are a man who belongs to himself. But this shift in behavior cannot be a cheap trick or a calculated game. If you are just pretending to be unbothered while secretly sweating over your phone, the illusion will eventually shatter. You must do the internal work to actually become unbothered. You must examine why you are so terrified of being left alone with your own thoughts. The nice guy is often someone who is afraid to face his own emptiness. He uses the problems of others and the validation of others to distract himself from his own lack of direction. You must fill that emptiness yourself. You must build a life that is so interesting to you that another person's absence is merely a footnote in your day. Find a craft. Build a body you are proud of. Read the great thinkers who came before you. When you are deeply rooted in your own existence, your indifference becomes natural. It becomes your default state of being. You hold the world lightly, and because you do not try to trap it, the world wants to stay in your hands. This mastery over your own attention sets the stage for how you handle your physical presence and resources in the days to come. Rule number 2. The economy of your presence. Familiarity breeds contempt because it strips away the layer of mystery that every human being needs to maintain their value. This is a biological law that governs every interaction you will ever have in your life. When something is abundant, its market value drops to 0. When something is rare, people are willing to fight, bleed, and pay a premium just to get a small taste of it. If you are always visible, always talking, and always in the room, you are flooding the market with your own supply. You are forcing your presence on people who have done nothing to earn it. The consequence is that people start to overlook you, speak over you, and ignore your opinions. They treat you like furniture, useful to have around, but completely invisible until they need a place to sit. In the mind of the other person, a man who is always available is a man who has no personal kingdom to govern. She looks at a man who is always ready to drop his plans for her, and she sees a man with no ambition. She sees a man who does not respect his own path, so she feels no obligation to respect it either. To her, your constant presence feels heavy and suffocating. It does not feel like love. It feels like an obligation that she must tolerate. She wants to wonder where you are, what you are doing, and who you are with. She wants to miss you, but you never give her the space to do so. You are robbing her of the very emotion that creates romantic attraction, the tension of your absence. Ordinary men fail this test because they are terrified of being forgotten. They think that if they step away for a few days, the world will move on without them. So they text every morning, they show up to every party, and they say yes to every casual invitation. They insert themselves into situations where they were not even invited. They laugh too loudly at jokes that are not funny, just to make sure everyone knows they are in the room. They believe they are being sociable and liked, but they are actually being tolerated and ignored. Imagine it is a rainy Thursday afternoon. You are sitting in your car in the driveway after a brutal 10-hour shift at work. Your shoulders are heavy, your eyes are burning, and you are starving. Your phone buzzed 5 minutes ago with an invitation to grab drinks with a group of casual acquaintances. You don't even like these people that much, and you are exhausted. But your brain tells you that if you don't go, you might miss out on something. You tell yourself that a good guy is always there for his social circle. So instead of turning off the ignition and going inside to cook a healthy meal and sleep, you start the car back up. You drive 30 minutes across town in heavy traffic to sit in a loud bar. You spend money you shouldn't spend, drinking beer you don't really want, talking to people who don't care about your goals. You get home at midnight, exhausted, having accomplished nothing for your own future. You have betrayed your own body and your own schedule just to appease a fear of missing out. The man who understands Stoic indifference knows that his absence is his most powerful negotiation tool. He does not view solitude as a punishment. He views it as a luxury. He understands that his time is a non-renewable resource, and he guards it like a dragon guards its gold. Seneca, the brilliant Roman statesman, wrote a letter to his friend Lucilius where he said, "Withdraw into yourself as much as you can." He was not telling us to become hermits who live in caves. He was telling us that the only way to find your own center is to separate yourself from the noise of the crowd. If you do not know how to be alone, you will always be a slave to the presence of others. The Stoic man does not announce his departure, and he does not explain his absence. He simply withdraws when his energy is needed elsewhere. When he is invited to an event that does not align with his current goals, he does not make up an elaborate lie about being sick. He does not give a long list of excuses to soften the blow. He looks the person in the eye or types a short message and says, "I can't make it tonight, I have other commitments." He does not explain that those commitments might just be sitting on his porch reading a book in silence. He understands that he owes no one an explanation for how he spends his own life. This simple act of withdrawal creates a vacuum of curiosity. People start to wonder where you are. They start to realize that your presence is not a given, but a privilege. When you finally do decide to enter a room, the atmosphere shifts. Because you are not always there, your entrance carries weight. When you do speak, people stop what they are doing to listen, because they know you do not waste your breath on empty air. You become the man who is defined by his silence rather than his noise. But this shift requires you to do the heavy lifting inside your own mind. You must destroy the nice guy's addiction to external validation. The nice guy goes to the bar because he is afraid that if he stays home, he will have to confront his own thoughts. He is afraid of the silence of his own room because it forces him to realize he doesn't know who he is without other people watching. You must learn to love your own company. You must find projects, hobbies, and reading material that make you excited to be alone on a Friday night. When your internal world is rich and vibrant, being alone does not feel lonely. It feels like returning to your home base. You must become so comfortable in your own skin that you view the world as an option, not a necessity. When you master the art of your own absence, you teach the world exactly how much your presence is worth. You force people to treat your time with the respect it deserves, because they know it can be taken away at any moment. This economy of your energy prepares you for the next critical shift. which is how you handle the opinions and insults of the world around you. Rule number 3. The mastery of reaction. The world is full of opinions, but an opinion only has the power you choose to give it. This is a mechanical law of human psychology. When you react to a negative comment, you validate it. When you get defensive, you are silently agreeing that the criticism might be true. The consequence of a quick emotional reaction is that you expose your soft underbelly to everyone in the room. You show them exactly where your insecurities lie. You show them exactly how to hurt you. You are giving them a roadmap to your own destruction. In the eyes of others, a man who flares up at every slight is a man who is not in control of his own vessel. She, in particular, looks at your anger not as strength, but as fragility. She sees a man whose self-image is so weak that it can be toppled by a single sentence. She perceives your defensiveness as a lack of true internal authority. A real king does not need to argue that he is a king. His presence does the talking. When you rush to explain yourself, you are acting like a servant trying to please a master. You are telling the world that you need their permission to feel good about who you are. Ordinary men fail this test by fighting fire with fire. They get loud. They make excuses. They insult the other person back. They believe they are defending their honor, but they are actually surrendering it to the aggressor. They let someone else's bad mood dictate the chemistry of their own body. They spend the next 3 hours repeating the argument in their head, thinking of all the things they should have said. Imagine you are at a dinner gathering with friends and family. You are sitting at the table, enjoying your food and the conversation. Out of nowhere, someone makes a sarcastic comment about your career choices or your current goals. The table goes quiet for a second as everyone waits to see what you will do. You feel the heat flooding your face and your throat tighten. Your immediate urge is to snap back with a biting insult about their own life. You want to put them in their place and win the approval of the room. You lean forward, your hands gripping the edge of the table. But the man who has embraced Stoic indifference knows that winning an argument is the ultimate loss of peace. He understands that another person's insult is just noise passing through the air. Epictetus, who spent the first half of his life as a slave, understood this better than anyone who has ever lived. He famously said, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone.'" This is not a joke. It is the ultimate psychological armor. Epictetus was teaching us that fighting an insult is a waste of your precious life. If you fight it, you are admitting that the insult has the power to damage you. If you laugh at it, you are showing that it cannot even pierce your skin. The Stoic man does not get angry. He does not get defensive. He looks the person in the eye, smiles faintly, and lets the comment hang in the air without a reply. Or he uses self-deprecating humor, agreeing with the insult to drain it of all its poison. He might say, "You should see me on my bad days. It gets much worse than that." Then he calmly takes a sip of his drink and asks someone else how their week is going. He shows the entire room that his emotional state is not for sale. By refusing to play the game, you win it automatically. The person who threw the insult looks petty and small. You look like an immovable rock in a sea of chaos. This creates an immense level of respect from everyone watching. They see a man who is so rooted in his own value that he does not need to defend it. But to get to this level, you must do the heavy lifting in the mirror. You must ask yourself why a comment had the power to burn you in the first place. If you are hurt by a criticism, it is because there is a part of you that secretly fears it might be true. You must heal that insecurity in private so it cannot be weaponized against you in public. When you are completely honest about your own flaws, no one can use them against you. Your indifference to the opinions of others is the ultimate proof of your self-worth. You must become the judge of your own character. When you stop letting others hold the ruler to measure your worth, you find a freedom that few men ever taste. This internal fortress of self-judgment is what gives you the power to handle the next challenge, which deals with how you offer your help and kindness to the world. Rule number 4, the boundary of generosity. The nice guy believes that his constant helpfulness is his greatest virtue. He believes that by fixing everyone's problems, running their errands, and anticipating their every need, he is earning a place in their hearts. He believes that if he is just useful enough, he will become indispensable. But there is a heavy psychological tax on unsolicited help. When you rush to solve problems that were never yours to begin with, you are not acting out of pure love. You are acting out of a deep and desperate fear of abandonment. You are trying to create a covert contract where the other person owes you their affection in exchange for your labor. The consequence of this behavior is both immediate and tragic. Instead of feeling grateful, the other person feels suffocated by your generosity. They do not see a selfless protector. They see a man who is trying to buy their affection with favors. They begin to view your help as a burden, a heavy emotional debt that they never asked to sign up for. In her mind, she perceives your constant rescuing as a subtle form of manipulation. She wonders why you cannot let her face her own struggles and grow through her own pain. She sees a man who does not respect her enough to let her solve her own problems. And because she did not ask for your help, she feels absolutely no obligation to thank you for it. She begins to take your labor for granted, treating you like a free service rather than a respected partner. She saves her admiration for the man who does nothing for her, because that man forces her to earn his attention. Ordinary men fail this test by turning themselves into emotional doormats. They become the man who drives across town at midnight to jumpstart a car for a woman who barely replies to their texts. They become the man who lends money he cannot afford to lose to friends who will never pay him back. They spend their weekends painting someone else's apartment, while their own life and goals are falling into decay. They think that by sacrificing their own comfort, they are proving their worth. They are only proving that they do not value their own energy. Imagine it is a rainy Sunday evening. You have finally carved out 2 hours of quiet time to plan your upcoming work week. Your phone buzzes on the desk. It is a woman you have been seeing, complaining that she is hungry and tired, but she doesn't want to cook. She doesn't ask you to bring her food, she just voices her discomfort into the void. Your nice guy programming instantly kicks into overdrive. You drop your planner, put your shoes on, and drive to a restaurant to pick up her favorite meal. You drive 15 minutes to her house and knock on the door, holding the warm bag of food like a trophy. You expect a warm smile and an invitation to stay for a movie. Instead, she opens the door, takes the bag, offers a quick and distracted thank you, and closes the door. You are left standing on the wet porch alone. You feel a wave of resentment wash over you, a bitter taste in your mouth. You did the right thing, didn't you? No, you didn't. You overstepped her boundaries and abandoned your own. You tried to buy a moment of intimacy with a bag of takeout, and you failed. The man who understands Stoic indifference knows that true generosity is quiet, measured, and rare. He does not offer his help unless it is explicitly requested, and even then, he only gives it if it aligns with his own values and schedule. Musonius Rufus, the Roman philosopher who taught Epictetus, once said, "If you accomplish something good with hard work, the labor passes quickly, but the good remains." The Stoic man understands that his labor is a sacred thing. He does not throw it away on people who do not honor it. He lets people struggle. He lets people feel the weight of their own choices. He understands that by allowing others to fail, he is giving them the gift of growth. He is a man of service, but he is never a servant. When someone asks for his help, he pauses and consults his own calendar. If he has the time and the genuine desire to help, he does so without expecting a single thing in return. He does not wait for a thank you. He does not keep a mental tally of favors owed. He gives, and then he immediately forgets that he gave. If he does not have the time, or if the request violates his principles, he says no without a single ounce of guilt. He does not make up a story about why he is busy. He simply says, "I cannot help you with that this time," This radical honesty creates a profound shift in how his help is received. When you only help when it makes sense for you, your help carries the weight of a rare event. People realize that your time and effort are not infinite resources to be squandered. They treat your generosity with the reverence it deserves. They stop expecting you to be their safety net, and they start acting like adults in your presence. But this shift requires you to go back inside your own mind and confront your addiction to being the hero. The nice guy wants to save everyone because he is too afraid to save himself. He uses the emergencies of others to distract himself from the emergency of his own stagnant life. You must kill the part of you that needs to be needed. You must become so focused on your own path that you do not have the time to look for damsels in distress to rescue. The world does not respect the man who fixes everything for everyone. The world respects the man who fixes himself, and then stands as a beacon of quiet strength for those who are ready to fix themselves. By pulling back your help, you give the people in your life the space to respect your boundaries. And this control over your actions leads you directly into the next test, where you must learn how to handle the ultimate weapon of the modern world, the power of your spoken word. Rule number 5, the precision of your words. The nice guy believes that talking is how you build a bridge of connection with another person. He believes that the more he speaks, the more he is understood and liked. He uses words to fill every awkward silence, terrified of what might happen if the room goes quiet for more than 3 seconds. He over-explains his decisions, he over-promises on his future, and he agrees with opinions he secretly hates just to keep the conversation flowing. But there is a heavy psychological tax on talking too much. When you flood the room with your words, you dilute the value of your own voice. You are telling the world that your thoughts are cheap, abundant, and desperate for an audience. The consequence is that people stop listening to you. They start to tune you out like the background noise of a television in a waiting room. They stop taking your promises seriously because they have heard you make 1,000 promises that you never kept. In her mind, she perceives your babbling as a symptom of a weak and anxious nervous system. She sees a man who is terrified of his own thoughts, so he must drown them out with noise. She wonders if you are capable of keeping a secret, or if you will spill your guts to anyone who smiles at you. And more than that, she cannot trust your praise. When you tell her she looks beautiful every 5 minutes, the compliment stops being a treasure and starts being a chore to hear. She knows you are just saying it to keep her happy, not because it is a raw and honest truth. She begins to crave the silence of a man whose approval cannot be bought with a simple smile. Ordinary men fail this test by turning themselves into people-pleasers with their tongues. They apologize for things that are completely out of their control. They say, "I'm sorry" 20 times a day for small, trivial things that do not require an apology. They believe they are being polite and well-mannered. In reality, they are broadcasting to the world that they feel guilty just for existing and taking up space. They use 1,000 words to say what could be said in 5. Imagine you are at a coffee shop on a Saturday afternoon. You are sitting across from someone you care about deeply. They ask you for your honest opinion on a personal project they have been working on for weeks. You look at the work, and you immediately see 3 massive flaws that will cause the project to fail. You feel a cold sweat on your palms and a knot in your stomach. Your nice guy programming screams at you to lie. It tells you to say, "It's amazing, you are so talented," just to make them smile and avoid a difficult conversation. You open your mouth, smile nervously, and give the fake compliment. The other person smiles back, and the moment of tension passes. But as you drive home later that day, you feel a hollow, heavy ache in your chest. You know you just lied to someone you care about. You traded your integrity for a moment of artificial peace, and you feel small because of it. The man who understands Stoic indifference knows that truth is the highest form of respect you can give to another human being. He does not view silence as an obstacle to overcome, but as a weapon of authority to be mastered. He understands that words are like bullets. The fewer you use, the more precise and deadly they become. Epictetus, who taught the most powerful men of Rome how to govern their own minds, gave us a brutal and simple rule. Be silent for the most part, or if you speak, say only what is necessary and in few words. He was not telling us to become robots who never laugh or share stories. He was telling us that a man who cannot control his tongue cannot control his life. He was telling us that silence is the ultimate display of self-assurance. The Stoic man does not babble when he is nervous. He pauses before he speaks. He lets the silence hang in the air for a moment, letting the other person wait for his answer. This pause is where your power lives. It shows that you are a man who weighs his thoughts before he shares them with the world. When you are asked for your opinion, you give it straight, without sugarcoating it, but also without being cruel. You say, "I see some great potential here, but these two flaws are going to cause you problems down the road." You don't apologize for having an opinion. You don't over-explain why you think that way. You state the truth, and then you let it sit on the table. This radical honesty creates a profound shift in how people perceive you. At first, they might be shocked by your directness. They might even feel a little stung. But after the initial shock passes, they feel a deep sense of security around you. They realize that when you tell them they did a good job, you actually mean it. They realize that you are not a yes man who will let them walk off a cliff just to avoid an argument. They start to lean in when you speak, because they know you do not waste your breath on empty air. Your voice gains gravity and your words become law. But this external authority is only possible if you first audit the lies you are telling to yourself. The nice guy lies to the world because he is desperately trying to hide his own insecurities from himself. He tells himself he is a good guy, while he quietly harbors resentment toward the people he is trying to please. You must destroy the liar inside your own head. Count how many times you apologize in a single day for things that are not your fault. Try going an entire 24 hours without using the word sorry unless you have committed a genuine moral failure. You will be shocked at how difficult it is. You will see how much your speech has been bent by the fear of other people's disapproval. Straighten your spine and straighten your tongue. Let your actions be the loud part of your character, and let your words be the quiet part. When you master the economy of your speech, you prepare yourself for the next challenge, which deals with how you handle desire and the illusion of ownership. Rule number 6. The freedom of non-attachment. The nice guy confuses love with possession. He believes that if he cares about someone, he must own their time, their attention, and their future. He believes that jealousy is a sign of passion, and that clamping down harder on a relationship will keep it safe. But there is a mechanical law of human psychology. The more you try to cage something, the more it wants to escape. When you pull too tight on a thread, it breaks. When you grip a handful of sand too hard, it slips through your fingers. The consequence of possessiveness is that you become a source of anxiety rather than a source of peace. You create a heavy, suffocating atmosphere that forces the other person to pull away just to breathe. When you constantly check in, track her movements, or ask for updates, you are not showing love. You are showing that your own internal world is a place of panic. In her mind, she perceives your jealousy not as love, but as profound insecurity. She sees a man who is terrified that he is not enough on his own. She sees a man who views her as a property to be guarded rather than a person to be shared with. When you ask her, "Who are you texting?" or "Why did you like his photo?" she doesn't feel desired. She feels interrogated. She feels trapped in a room with a man who is constantly checking the locks. And the more she feels trapped, the more she visualizes the open door. She wishes she could be with a man who lets her explore the world without a leash. Ordinary men fail this test because they operate from a place of deep, agonizing fear. They become detectives in their own lives. They monitor social media activity like it's a full-time job. They analyze every emoji and every delayed reply. They try to control who the other person sees, what they wear, and how they spend their free time. They believe they are protecting the relationship, but they are actually strangling it to death with their own hands. They drive themselves mad with scenarios that are completely manufactured in their own minds. Imagine you are driving home on a Friday night. The city lights are streaking past your window. You pull up to a red light and reach for your phone. You open a social media app and see a story of her out with friends at a new lounge. There are men in the background of the video. She looks happy, radiant, and completely unbothered by your absence. You feel a sudden, violent twist in your stomach. Your grip tightens on the leather steering wheel until your knuckles turn white. You feel a hot rush of jealousy flooding your chest. Your immediate instinct is to call her or send a passive-aggressive text to remind her that you exist. You want to spoil her night because you feel left out of it. But the man who has mastered Stoic indifference knows that you cannot lose what you do not own. He understands that people are not trophies to be locked in a display case. He knows that if someone wants to betray you, no amount of monitoring or texting will stop them. Epictetus, who understood the nature of true freedom, wrote a line that strips away all our illusions of ownership. He said, "Never say about anything that I have lost it, but only I have returned it." He was reminding us that everything in this world is on loan to us. Your health, your money, your friends, and your partners, they are all temporary gifts from the universe. They do not belong to you. They belong to themselves. When you accept this truth, jealousy evaporates. The Stoic man does not try to control her night. He does not send the text. He locks his phone, puts it in the glove compartment, and turns up the music in his car. He goes home and enjoys his own evening, trusting in his own worth. He gives the other person the absolute freedom to make their own choices. He does not police her phone or her friendships. He stands as a man who says through his actions, "I want you in my life, but I do not need you in my life." He gives her the freedom to leave at any point. By doing this, you become infinitely more attractive. When you remove the cage, the bird doesn't want to fly away. It wants to stay because it feels safe. She realizes that you are not a prison guard. She realizes that you are a sovereign man who is secure enough in his own value to let her breathe. She respects you because you do not demand her loyalty through force, but earn it through your own stability. She feels drawn to your detachment because it means you cannot be easily broken. But to reach this level of calm, you must do the heavy work inside your own soul. Jealousy is always a mirror reflecting your own sense of inadequacy. If you are afraid of her leaving, it is because you do not believe you can find another partner of equal value. If you are afraid of her talking to other men, it is because you do not believe your own presence is heavy enough to keep her interest. You must destroy these doubts. You must become so certain of your own value that if someone decides to leave your life, you view it as their loss, not yours. You must learn to love without grasping. Hold the world in your open palm, not in your clenched fist. When you master the art of non-attachment, you find a peace that no outside event can touch. You become a rock of stability in a world of anxious attachment. When she looks at you, she does not see a nervous boyfriend or a paranoid husband. She sees an ancient pillar of stone that cannot be knocked over by the wind. And this emotional freedom prepares you for the next challenge, which deals with how you handle conflict and the illusion of peace. Rule number 7. The courage of necessary conflict. The nice guy is a professional peacekeeper. He believes that a good relationship is one where there is never any friction. He believes that by swallowing his own frustration and hiding his true thoughts, he is protecting the bond. He thinks that if he just avoids the big talk or the difficult boundary, the problem will eventually fix itself. But there is a biological law of pressure. What you suppress does not disappear. It mutates. When you avoid a necessary conflict, you aren't being kind. You are being a coward. You are trading your long-term respect for a few minutes of artificial quiet. The consequence of this behavior is that you become a walking time bomb of resentment. The other person stops respecting your boundaries because they have forgotten where they are. In her mind, she perceives your constant agreement not as love, but as a lack of spine. She feels a subtle, growing disgust for a man who will not stand up to her. She pushes the limits further and further, not because she is crazy, but because she is testing the structural integrity of your character. She wants to see if you have a foundation, or if you are just a house of cards that will fold under a light breeze. She cannot feel safe with a man who is afraid to tell her no. If you cannot stand up to her, she knows you will never be able to stand up for her when the world gets truly dangerous. Ordinary men fail this test by confusing aggression with authority. When they finally snap, they do it with a burst of uncontrolled rage. They shout, they throw things, or they use insults to hurt the other person. This isn't strength, it's a temper tantrum. It shows that you have let the pressure build up for so long that you have lost control of your own mind. You become the villain of the story, and the original issue is completely forgotten. Imagine you are at home on a Wednesday evening. You are exhausted from a long day of work, and you just want 30 minutes of quiet to decompress. She walks into the room and starts criticizing the way you handled a minor chore or a family obligation. She is sharp, dismissive, and clearly trying to pick a fight to vent her own stress. Your nice guy reflex is to apologize and try to fix it immediately. You want to smooth things over so you can go back to your quiet time. But as the words of apology form in your throat, you feel a sharp pang of self-loathing. You know you didn't do anything wrong. The man who understands Stoic indifference knows that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice. He understands that his primary duty is to protect the truth, even if it makes the room uncomfortable. Marcus Aurelius, the leader of the greatest empire on earth, wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." The Stoic man does not shout. He does not move his hands. He does not change the volume of his voice. He looks her in the eye and says, "I understand you're stressed, but I will not be spoken to in that tone. When you are ready to speak with respect, we can continue this conversation." Then he turns back to what he was doing. He does not wait for a reaction. He doesn't argue about why his boundary is valid. He simply sets the price of admission for his company. By being willing to endure the temporary storm of a conflict, you build a permanent foundation of respect. She realizes that you have a line that cannot be crossed. She realizes that your kindness is a choice, not a weakness. This clarity actually reduces conflict in the long run because she knows exactly where the walls of your fortress are. But this requires you to be comfortable with the silence of a cold room. The nice guy is terrified of the silent treatment or a night of tension. He will do anything to make her smile again so he can feel okay inside. You must become okay with her being unhappy with you. You must realize that her emotions are her responsibility and your integrity is yours. When you stop being the emotional janitor who cleans up everyone else's moods, you finally become the leader of your own life. You must value the truth more than you value comfort. This willingness to stand your ground prepares you for the final and most important test of all, the power of the walk away. Rule number 8. The supremacy of purpose. The nice guy makes a fatal miscalculation about the meaning of his own life. He believes that finding love and maintaining a relationship is the ultimate finish line of a man's existence. He thinks that once he secures the affection of a woman, his primary job on earth is done, and his new job is simply to keep her happy. But there is a cold, mechanical law of masculine energy. A man without a trajectory is a dead weight. When you make another human being the absolute center of your universe, you stop moving forward. You become a satellite orbiting her life, rather than a sun burning with your own gravitational pull. The consequence of this shift is slow, silent, and entirely destructive to your value. You stop being the driven, interesting man she initially met, and you become a domesticated servant to the relationship. In her mind, she perceives this lack of ambition not as romantic devotion, but as a tragic loss of potential. She looks at a man who has dropped his hobbies, his goals, and his brothers just to sit on the couch with her, and she feels a profound loss of respect. She is biologically wired to desire a man who is conquering the world, not a man who has surrendered to the comfort of the living room. She wants to be a beautiful companion on a driven man's journey, not the destination itself. When she realizes she is the only thing keeping you occupied, the pressure becomes suffocating for her. She resents being your sole source of happiness and entertainment. She begins to test you, pick fights, and pull away, hoping to spark some kind of fire or resistance in your chest. Ordinary men fail this test completely because they are addicted to the instant gratification of her approval. They trade their long-term empire for a short-term compliment. They cancel plans with their mentors and friends because she hinted that she wanted to spend the evening together. They put their side businesses on hold because the relationship requires too much energy. They skip the gym because she bought takeout and wants to watch a movie. They think these sacrifices prove their loyalty and their goodness. In reality, every time you abandon your purpose for her comfort, you are driving another nail into the coffin of her attraction for you. Imagine it is a Saturday morning at 6 o'clock. Your alarm goes off in the dark. You made a promise to yourself on Friday that you were going to wake up early, hit the gym for an hour, and then spend the morning working on a new business venture. You sit up on the edge of the mattress, rubbing the sleep out of your eyes. She shifts under the warm covers, reaches a hand out, and gently pulls your arm. She asks you in a soft, sleepy voice to turn the alarm off, come back to bed, and just lay with her for a few more hours. The temptation is incredibly heavy. The nice guy programming inside your brain immediately rationalizes the lazy choice. You tell yourself that a good partner is present and that the gym can wait until tomorrow. You slide back under the heavy sheets, trading your ambition for a moment of warmth and a smile. But at noon, when you finally get out of bed and the day is half gone, you feel a sickening hollow hum of failure in your chest. You did not win her respect by staying. You only proved that your own goals are highly negotiable. The man who understands Stoic indifference knows that his mission is sacred and untouchable. He understands that his purpose is the iron spine of his entire character. Seneca, the brilliant Stoic thinker who navigated the treacherous politics of Rome, wrote a truth that cuts right through our modern laziness. He said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." Seneca was explaining that without a clear, overriding mission, you will be blown off course by every passing distraction, every emotional whim, and every soft invitation. If you do not have a port to sail to, you will simply drift at sea until you sink. The Stoic man does not negotiate his port for anyone. When she pulls his arm on that Saturday morning, he does not get angry, and he does not apologize for his drive. He leans over, kisses her forehead, smiles warmly and says, "I'd love to stay, but I have work to do. I'll see you this afternoon." He gets out of bed, steps into the cold air and walks out the door to execute his plan. He leaves her alone in the bed. By doing this, he creates a massive, undeniable surge of raw attraction. As she lies there watching him get dressed and leave, she does not feel neglected. She feels a deep, primal respect for a man who cannot be derailed from his path, not even by her. She realizes she is dealing with a force of nature, a man who is governed by his own internal laws. She knows that a man who respects his own time will demand that the world respects it too, but this level of unwavering discipline cannot be faked with a busy schedule of meaningless tasks. You cannot just pretend to be busy to look cool or mysterious. You must do the terrifying internal work of actually discovering your purpose. The nice guy hides behind the problems of his relationship because he is terrified of facing his own lack of direction in life. You must confront the void. You must ask yourself what you are building, what you are leaving behind, and what skills you are mastering. You must find the mountain you want to climb, and you must start walking towards it every single day. When you are genuinely consumed by a magnificent obsession, you stop worrying about who is texting you back. You stop overanalyzing every interaction because your mind is occupied with building your empire. Your indifference becomes completely natural because your eyes are fixed on the horizon, not on the people standing in your way. This absolute, unbreakable dedication to your own existence prepares you for the final, most brutal, and most liberating realization of all. All the discipline, all the boundaries, and all the focus in the world mean absolutely nothing if you are missing one final piece. You can master your time, your words, and your attention, but it will all crumble if you are secretly terrified of the end. The ordinary man uses these principles as a trick to keep someone around. He plays the game of indifference, but deep down his hands are shaking, praying she never walks out the door. But true sovereignty cannot be faked with a new set of rules. True mastery comes from the absolute, chilling willingness to let it all burn to the ground. This is the core of your unshakable power. You must possess the ability to look at a relationship, a job, or a friendship, and walk away without a single drop of regret. When you are attached to the outcome, you are a hostage to the other person's decisions. When you are terrified of losing them, they can smell the desperation on you like cheap cologne. They know that no matter how hard you act, you will eventually cave, negotiate, and surrender your dignity just to keep them. The ultimate leverage in any human interaction is the genuine capacity to say goodbye and never look back. Marcus Aurelius, commanding the entire civilized world, understood that everything ends. He wrote to himself in the darkness of a war tent, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." He was not being pessimistic. He was forging the ultimate psychological armor. He was teaching us that the man who fears losing what he has is a man who is already a slave to it. When you accept that every relationship might eventually end, you stop clinging to it like a drowning man holding a piece of wood. You stand up straight. You look her in the eye, fully aware that she could walk out the door tomorrow, and you completely accept it, because you know that if she leaves, your empire still stands, your lungs still breathe, your mind still works, and your future still belongs entirely to you. This is not a manipulation tactic. It is the brutal, liberating truth of your existence. When a woman senses that you do not need her to survive, she feels a magnetic pull that is stronger than any romantic gesture you could ever make. She feels the weight of a man who is the sole architect of his own reality. That is the definition of creating absolute scarcity. That is what makes you irresistible. You become a rare, dangerous, and beautiful anomaly in a world of desperate men. Everything you have just learned is not a set of social tricks. It is a complete reconstruction of your identity as a man. The version of you that was terrified of a silent phone or a cold look is officially dead. You have replaced him with a man who understands that his own respect is the only currency that matters in this life. From this moment on, you are no longer a passenger in other people's moods. You are the architect of your own peace, standing firm regardless of who stays or who goes. This isn't just about your relationships or your dating life. It is about the dignity of your entire existence. The world is full of men who are willing to sell their souls for a smile, but you have chosen a harder, more honorable path. You have joined an elite group of men who lead themselves first. If you found value in this shift, join our community of Stoic practitioners by subscribing and share this with a man who is still trapped in the nice guy cycle. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.